Hello, welcome. Hey, everybody. Well, it is officially June 21st, which means that it is finally officially summer. So, of course, we are here on the Mediavine Summer of Live, where we go live every week, bringing in experts from across the content creation industry, all aimed at growing your business. I'm your host, Mediavine's Jenny Guy. Thank you so much for joining us today. So now that it is officially summer, what are your plans? Say hi in the comments and tell us if you have any big summer vacay or weekends at the lake or staycation in your own city. All of those are fantastic. I personally plan to try to eat as many tomato-based dishes as I can over the next however many weeks, and watermelon, and take advantage of that summer produce. But there's definitely no denying that summer is known as a time of taking it easy, vacationing, and spending time with family and friends. However, when you work full time at your day job, and then you are also trying to grow your website, your PTO for the summer, you could take a full week of vacation and spend the entire week working on your website. So it's a bit of a conundrum. So here to help us maintain the sanity and create some boundaries, some healthy boundaries while working to grow that website is my guest for today. It's Shweta Garg. Shweta is the recipe developer, photographer, videographer, and writer behind Masala and Chai, which is a food blog showcasing accessible and comprehensive Indian recipes for home cooks. She's also a full-time cloud consultant at a large consulting firm. Masala and Chai is full of recipes that are meticulously developed and tested by Shweta Garg. Several recipes are passed on by her mother, aunts, and grandmother, who grew up in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India. Shweta is a published photographer and has been featured in publications such as Eater, AM, NYC, Food and Wine, BuzzFeed, Parade, The Feed, The Kitchen, and Food Network. So you've got quite a lot going on at the same time. Shweta, welcome to the Summer of Live. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Jenny. I'm super excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. So, guys, if you want to say hi in the comments to our audience, say hi and let us know if your blog is your full-time or your side gig. And remember, there is zero shame in either game. If you're making content, you are a rock star in our book. All right. Shweta, we are so happy to have you here addressing this sometimes neglected but extremely important topic. So before we dive in with your 5 tips, I would like for you to tell us more about your journey as a content creator. How long have you had your website? Are you full-time? Was full-time ever your goal? Whatever you feel is relevant and you're comfortable talking about. Because the fact is, the blogging journey rarely looks the same for any two creators. It's not linear. We've been talking about this before. Everyone has their own path. Everyone has their own goals. So it's difficult to compare. All right. So Shweta, please let us know.
Yes. So I actually started with an Instagram, maybe 2017, 2018. I was actually Treat Yourself NY back then. I actually started the Instagram while I was traveling as a consultant for work. So I had the intentions of it being a lifestyle, a food, a traveling blog. And then I kind of just focused more on the food because as a consultant, you're eating, you're eating out every day. So that's kind of how I started. And then, I started getting PR invites while I was in New York City. I was doing a lot of food photography for restaurants. And at some point I was kind of like, I'm spending a lot of time and money on this. It is expensive, camera gear, eating out, traveling. It was expensive. So at some point I was like, how do I turn this hobby, this passion into something that's lucrative? How do I break even? How do I profit even if possible? So that was kind of something I started looking at. And with the pandemic, I was creating more recipes at home. I was trying to support small businesses in New York City and restaurants. And I was ordering from restaurants and I was, buying props. I was buying backdrops and trying to share about these restaurants that I was ordering from at home. And that kind of pivoted into a lot of food photography at home, creating new recipes. And then I started Masala Chai back in June 2020. That's how I got started. Now I have been here for exactly 2 years now with Masala and Chai, which is today is my anniversary. which is really exciting. So yeah, that's been a bit of my journey. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you not only started a blog in the height of the pandemic, you definitely did. Two, how fast when you started publishing before you got on Mediavine? That was fast. You started, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was a little less than a year and a half.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. Love to hear that. Okay. So again, it really looks the same. So you gave us that great background on you, and love that you took the time when it was a hard time for everybody, and took the fact that you were putting, because you're obviously passionate about it, you obviously love it,
Yep.
you like to spend time doing it, you might as well get paid for it if you're going to keep
You're not
spending all
wrong.
this time. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share the overview of your strategy for blogging while working full time, and introduce those 5 tips that we referenced in the episode
Yes.
title.
So, tip number one, creating business hours. So, this is going to be a schedule or routine for workable hours that won't exhaust you. Tip number two is going to be batching your content. A lot of this is going to be strategizing around holidays, evergreen content, or even times where you don't feel like doing anything. Um, Tip number three is going to be investing in yourself. So hiring VAs, taking courses, taking a mastermind, um, having a great back end to your website. Tip number four, this is one I really love, is if you are planning on going from full-time work to full-time blogging, is planning your quitting criteria. And tip number five is finding your community.
Okay, awesome. We're going to dive into each one of these tips. We're getting some great comments. Guys, if you have a question, I know that you were told that in the comments, but if you've got questions for Shweta, please feel free to drop them in there. I will get them to her. All right, let's dive into number one. I want to go more in depth onto each tip. And I love that you started out with creating business hours, which is a huge part in setting boundaries. Can you tell us why that is so important and why it's number one on the list?
Yes, you're so right. It is a lot about setting boundaries, and most businesses do have business hours, and I don't see why us as creators, as bloggers, shouldn't have business hours too. So this is actually something I implemented more in the past year to set those boundaries with myself and with people in my life and with brands, whatever it is. A lot of people do consider blogging to be a very untraditional job. You know, a lot of us get into the space because we have other priorities in life. You know, we want to work for ourselves, we want to travel more, we want to spend more time with our family. And it's also a space where a lot of us wear many different hats. I myself am a one woman show. Um, or you might have a full team of people helping you with your content. So it's very different for everyone. So I think it really helps to set expectations for your day, especially if you are still working full time. Another thing that I loved setting business hours for is because these were really my non negotiable hours where I get to work on my blog, period. This is time I've set for myself, for my business, for my growth, for something I'm passionate about. And I typically don't allow anyone to get in the way of that. So for me, I'm usually about 9 to 6 p.m. or so for my full-time job. And so my hours would be taking a break from, 5:30ish, 6 to about 7, maybe getting dinner in, having a workout, and then I would start working on my blog, whether it was recipe testing, maybe I would eat whatever I tested for dinner. Um, and then I would kind of move into shooting or, wherever I am with my batching content, which I'll talk about later, I might, be on my couch cushioned up and like watching the TV show while I write out my blog posts. So, this is time where you're going to prep your content, you're going to create, you're going to publish your content, you may be answering some emails. You may be looking at your financials. You might be getting on social media specific for your blog. So, whatever it is. And again, this is super important because I did find myself sacrificing a lot of time with my family and my friends. I got a lot of complaints about it. And I even found myself isolating myself a little bit to the point where I just wouldn't see people for a week or two. And what ended up happening is I burnt out. I burnt out so badly. I did not create content for 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 months sometimes, actually. So I think business hours really help you create expectations for yourself, your business, people in your life, employees, stuff like that.
So love hearing that. Yet burnout is so real. It's so real. If we don't protect ourselves, we're not giving the best of ourselves, protect our time. About how many hours a night would you say that you're devoting to your website after working a very full day at your full-time job?
Yeah, it really, really depends. There are some days at my full-time job where we have migration cutovers. As I mentioned, I'm a cloud consultant. I work on cloud migrations. Those might be at 10 or 11 p.m. So my schedule really changes, but I've kind of set a boundary for myself about 7 to 10 p.m. And sometimes if I'm really watching TV, I'm really binging a show, it might be even like until 2 a.m. And then I know that I have a lot of friends that are morning people as well, and they will set time from like 7 to 9 a.m. to work on their blogs.
Yep. Before or after, whenever you're most productive. That's terrific. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, audience, question for you. Whether you're full-time or part-time, whatever, you're a content creator. And I think all of us can identify with family and friends not necessarily having the most understanding for what it is that you're doing, and the fact that it is a job, and you don't have necessarily, just because you're at home or cooking or working out or doing whatever it is, that you can't just stop what you're doing and go do with them. So how do you set boundaries as a content creator? Audience, tell us in the comments. We would love to hear tips. Let's help each other. Let's lift each other up here. All right. Number 2, content batching is so important. I think it's important across the board, regardless of how
Hmm.
much time you have to invest. But when you only have a very limited amount of time to focus on your website, you still want to put out that all important new content. I would love to hear about the method that works for you.
Yes. So really quick, if you don't know what batching content
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
it's actually a method of productivity for you to create and share your content that you're creating during a set amount of time. So the way you batch your content is really up to you. There's so many different ways to do this. If you feel like you're overwhelmed going from task to task, so for example, if you are a recipe developer, you're going to be keyword researching, seeing if this recipe makes sense to actually create. And then you'll go into getting those groceries. You'll go to recipe testing, cooking, styling, shooting, editing, posting on your blog, creating collateral and assets to share those, engaging with your people. So these are a lot of tasks to go through in 1 or 2 days. You're going to burn out. You're going to be exhausted. So what a lot of people do, and what I really, really do, is set aside a day or maybe even a week to work on one thing specifically. So, you might be the person that's creating drafts on Instagram with your captions and your images edited, so that you could just hit post at 8 a.m. every day. You may spend an entire day in Canva creating your pins. You might spend another day making your web stories, whatever it is. I personally work in larger chunks where I will spend maybe 2 to 3 days where I am keyword researching and creating my content calendar. And then I will spend maybe a week or so where I am really planning out the recipes that I want to create and shoot. And then another week where I am, sitting down and actually writing out those blog posts and scheduling them. And that really helps me stick to my content calendar, especially, if I have a vacation planned, or I know work is going to be crazy, whatever it is. Batching really helps you prioritize and actually finish off the tasks that you have for your full-time or for full-time blogging. And so personally for me, and I think people might relate to this, is I've noticed I have periods of productivity throughout the month. So there are times where I will just go crazy. I will be so creative. I have a million new recipe ideas. I get really excited. I go out, I buy groceries, spend all this money, swipe that business card, and I'll get home, and the next day I won't do anything. Those groceries will start going bad because I'm exhausted physically and mentally, and I just don't feel like picking up a camera. So I have really honed in on those times where I do feel like that, and so I actually batch my content around the time of the month where I do feel like I could be really physically active, because for some of us, we're shooting for hours a day. And if you're doing that, that's really strenuous on the body, like getting all these crazy angles with your food, styling, cooking. And then during my lower periods, I schedule out doing my keyword research, writing out blog posts, um, basically anything that involves my computer, essentially. I really schedule those out for the lower periods that I have during the month. And the physical activities are going to be when I'm, at the top of my game.
I
So
love
that's
that you're
kind of how I find
capitalizing
that.
on that
Yeah,
crazy creative time. That's exciting because
exactly.
we all have that. We all have, it's the same thing when you decide, like, even if you're like, I'm going to clean out my closets. Like, there are just times when you feel like I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to conquer it. And then there are just times, like you said, when you finish a day and you're like, I want to play Nintendo Switch today. That's what I want
Yes,
to do after work.
yes,
Sorry. Um,
100%.
okay. We had a great question actually from Sonia. She said, what to do when you reach a burnout phase in creating content? Because you mentioned that you definitely found that place yourself.
Yes, yes. It depends. I hate saying that, but it really depends. And it really is what you find comfort in, is what I found. So I really had to give myself grace and be like, I'm tired. I've done a lot. I'm really, really tired and I need a break, because if I don't take this break, I will just not be creating. So, a lot of the times when you burn out, you kind of beat yourself up and you're like, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Um, but the truth is, you get into this so you could give yourself that break. Like, you can go travel for a month, leave your blog, not think about it. And you're still making that passive income. So I think really honing in on that and like looking at how you feel throughout the week, throughout the month, and giving yourself those breaks, which is again why it's really important to have those business hours. Maybe you take the weekend off, maybe you're taking a few hours off a night for some self-care. Um, that's kind of how I've dealt with burnout, is giving myself grace, scheduling time for self-care, scheduling time to not think about my blog.
I love, and I think that's half the battle, is not beating ourselves up for it. I can ruin relaxing time for myself just by myself
Yeah.
talking about how I should not be relaxing. Um, it's so ridiculous. Instead of working on it's ridiculous. Our minds are
So bad.
funny. Our
Yeah.
minds are very funny. All right.
Yep.
So tip 3 had me cheering. It's another one, but I am a sucker for affirmations and positive self-talk. So tell us what you mean by investing in yourself as a blogger in this context, and how can we begin?
There's so many ways for us to go about this as creators and bloggers. So I think the first thing I would do is really assess where you are and where you want to be. So for me personally, about 2 years ago, I said my goals are to monetize my blog with Mediavine. I was actually in a mastermind with Sam from Frosting and Fettuccine, and she said, "What are your 1 year goals? What are your 5 year goals? What are your long term goals?" And so I said, for me, it's monetizing with Mediavine, which I've done. And it is hitting a revenue of 15K minimum. So I am really, really lucky that I was able to do that. But before I did that, it was really assessing where I was. So I made a list of things I could do to get there, or things that I was really struggling with. And what I did was I found experts that could help me do that better, if that makes sense. So another example again, I was struggling with my photography. If you look at my Instagram, you will see some really, really bad photos. Like
That's everybody,
horror-
though. Everyone who's
yeah,
done any of this can look back
right.
at their old stuff and go, ooh.
Ooh, it's pretty cringy. So I was like, okay, my photography is good, but my food styling and my food photography at home, not good. So I found Sam again from Frosting and Fettuccine. She specializes in food photography. Shout out to her. And I took her 12-week long mastermind. And I found that super helpful. She gave me a lot of resources to be a better photographer and to be really mindful of the style of content that I was putting out. And then after that, I was like, okay, like I have this blog. I don't know how to keyword research. You know what? My artificial lighting sucks. It's now winter. So I am looking for something that's a little bit more self paced and a little cheaper than a mastermind. So with that, I went with Cooking with Keywords. If you're a food blogger, you've probably heard of it. And I also took Artificial Lighting Academy with Joni, from the Bite Shot. So that was another thing I did. And then I was like, okay, Now it's May 2020 or so. I'm still struggling. I'm still not making progress. I still don't have the page views I need. Clearly, there's something that's missing here. And so I turned to my friend Eden from Sweet Tea and Time. She runs an amazing food blogging mastermind. It's 16 weeks long, and she really helps you think of your business as a business. And so she was helping me niche, find my ideal reader, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was investing in myself, with these masterminds, with these courses that I took. And I think that everyone should really take a second to look at their business, look at what they're strong at, what they're weak at, and see if they can hire out. See if you could hire a VA. See if you could reinvest some of your earnings, some of your affiliate income, whatever you have, and see if you could reinvest that into your business. Um, so now that I've hit my goal of monetizing, I'm like, what can I do to still reinvest that money? You know, you should constantly be looking at where you can keep growing. And so what I did is I hired out my back end for WordPress for to NerdPress, who are amazing. They've already sped up my site, and I just love them. And I got a site audit by a SEO expert, where I've already seen my Google search results going up, which is really exciting. Really optimizing the content that I already have there. And then my next goals are to hire a trademark attorney, a site designer, a Pinterest expert, and a copywriter. So again, constantly looking at where you could keep growing. Most businesses don't see a profit for several years. So I think it's really important to take that chance on yourself and have the right tools for your business.
That is so exciting, and hearing to find the places where we've talked about this so many times on this show, to where you guys are content creators are expected to wear so many different hats and be experts in so many different things, but you just can't be an expert in absolutely everything. Yeah. So one, you can't do everything. You can't be on every single social platform, giving all of the energy to every single one. And two, you can't, and also creating web stories, and also growing your YouTube channel, and so you have to choose your focus. And then two, there's going to be things you don't necessarily love to do as much. So I think finding places where you might be burning out, and that finding someone else who is an expert in that, like you said, it's so smart. And I wanted to hear, virtual assistants or a tech support or any of that can be so important to scale your business while maintaining your sanity, which are both important things. And you said you outsource your own. You found someone to work on your back, and we actually have people. We did a whole episode on VA, people trying to find one and people trying to become one. And we will share that link with you guys. And then we also have a whole thread in the Mediavine Facebook group of people trying to hire someone to work on. There's a whole long thread of it for people that are wanting to outsource. So I think the question is, what do you look for when you're looking for somebody to take some of that load off of you, like when you're outsourcing?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually look for recommendations from other bloggers. There are so many instances where I've seen a friend hire a site designer or take a recommendation from someone, and it actually ends up slowing down their site. There's so many instances of that. They've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, this person who ends up actually not doing what they wanted or doesn't do a great job. So I really look for really, really good reviews for proven people, for people that are actively in communities helping people, in order to outsource my back end. So for example, like I said, I hired NerdPress. They were at a Tastemakers conference. They were putting out a ton of free, great content. They're in the top hat ranked seminars, just giving out free information. And then I had so many people recommend them. Like, that was a big goal for me, even being someone that's in tech. So yeah, that's kind of what I look for when I outsource. Definitely get your recommendations.
People that are involved in the community. All of those are great, helpful things. All right, we're going to go on to number 4. Tip number 4 is plan your quitting criteria. I love this one because it is definitely not discussed frequently outside of private conversations. I think it's so important to be methodical and data driven when you're making a big decision like this about your livelihood. So what value, so tell, what are your, define quitting criteria for us,
Yeah.
please. And if you don't mind, what is yours?
Of course. So again, I want to give a shout out to Eden from Sweet Tea and Time for this. She is in the comments. Hey, Eden. She actually helped me with this in the mastermind.
Oh,
So,
that's
a
awesome.
lot of us do have full-time jobs with a goal of quitting, and you're never going to quit if you don't lay out that criteria you need to hit to quit. So if you're working a full-time job outside of blogging, you have the intention of becoming a full-time blogger, let's make a list. You want to have a list of set goals that you want to hit to ensure you have the right mindset when it comes to quitting what might be a very stable job and a very stable income. That is a really big deal. It's not something you should take lightly. So, this might be looking at your financials. What are your monthly bills? What are your personal expenses? Do you have travel coming up? Do you need to move eventually? Do you have rent going up? I know I do, living in New York City. Um, do you have short-term and long-term expenses? And then I would also look at the run rate of your business. So, how much does it cost for hosting? How much does it cost for your plugins? Do you need to buy a new camera? Things like that. And I would be looking at this over a period of a few months so that you could really average out what it's looking like.
No,
So,
you can't look at it just like in Q4. That's not going to
yeah,
be the way to, advertising revenue is crazy high in Q4 for most publishers. So saying, there it
exactly.
is, I'm going to set the rest of my year. And not that
Mhm.
anyone would do that. I'm just saying you've got to have a full picture.
Exactly. So you should really, really be looking at January, May, December, whatever it is. You need to look at your highs and lows and really plan out the number that you need to make from your blog, from your ad revenue, from your passive income streams, whatever it is, in order to maintain your lifestyle and add tax. It's very important. So these are some of the things that I look at. For me, it's mostly financial. Living in New York City, it's very stressful. I have to make a certain amount of money to really be comfortable here. So for me, once I hit my financial goal is really when I would personally feel comfortable quitting. I don't have any plans of quitting currently because I do really enjoy my full-time job and the security that it provides me. But if you are planning on quitting, it might be as simple as, I'm moving across the country and I have to quit my job. Or, maybe you could quit your job and find a part-time job. Maybe, you have a big life change, you're having a child and you want to stay at home. And for some of my friends that have been able to quit their full-time job, I've seen something that they do is they make about 75% of their full-time income via their blog. Um, Knowing that if they quit, they can make up that 25%, putting that full-time effort into, their business. So, whatever it is, make your checklists, make your non-negotiables, tick them off. And once you've ticked all of them off, you really want to ask yourself, am I ready to quit? And I think doing that doesn't leave space for excuses because it's so scary to take that leap. But once you kind of see it visually and you're like, hey, I hit everything that I want to do to be able to quit comfortably, you could really take that chance on yourself.
Uh, it's a scary transition. And it's also not necessarily everybody's goal. And it's not necessarily everybody's goal all the time. I have known
Mm-hmm.
a lot of publishers who have gone full time, gone back, stayed out of coming full time, gone into a part-time role, gone into a part-time role that is somehow tangentially related to being a full-time blogger. Like there's so many different paths
Yeah.
that are going to open up, and there's never going to be no judgment zone at all here for whatever your path is and whatever your wishes are. There's different seasons of life where maybe you want to work in an office for a while. Like it's up to you. But I think that everything that you're saying applies to wherever you are, setting those goals. And I love being really methodical about what your strengths and weaknesses are, where you are and where you want to be. And that's the only
Mm-hmm.
way that you can really make that progress. So thank you for sharing all of that. I know it's a little personal, but I very much appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, into the home stretch with your fifth tip, find your community. I absolutely agree that it is so important, and you have already been proving the validity of this in this entire session, because you've been talking so much about how the way that your various community friends and your blogging masterminds and everything have helped you along the way. But I know that it is so important, but it also can be tricky to find your community,
Yeah.
because one of the attractive aspects of blogging for so many people is the ability to be totally independent, to function in an isolated way. So what value have you found in community, and how did you find yours?
Yeah, so I'd love to tackle the how did you find yours, because for me, I am an introvert. I am a homebody. Like, my zodiac sign is a Scorpio. Like, think that should tell you everything you need to know. Um, so for me, it was actually Sam's mastermind. It was Frosting and Fettuccine again. Her mastermind introduced me to so many other amazing women in the food space that were also looking to grow, and I was able to really connect with them. Um, and they're amazing. So, Facebook groups, DMing someone you admire on Instagram, that's a great way to start building your community. You do have to put yourself out there a little bit. I hate doing that. I hate making new friends sometimes. um, but you do have to put yourself out there, because just like a corporate job, networking is an incredibly, incredibly important. It is so dang important. The people that you network with, the people that you build your community with, these are the people that are going to put your name in rooms. These are the people that are going to encourage you. Um, these are the people that are going to pass on opportunities. Like one of my really good friends, Kelly from Bacon Bacon, when I got the email from Mediavine that's like, hey, we're doing Summer of Live. Like, would you like to be a part of this? I instantly messaged her and I was like, girl, should I do this? And she was like, yes, of course. You have so much to offer. So it's really those people, when maybe you're feeling imposter syndrome, whatever it is, they're going to celebrate, your very highs, and they're also going to be there for you in your very lows. So yeah, blogging can be incredibly lonely. It does require a certain amount of independence. Some people are really, really lucky. They have a partner who's very invested in their blog as well, or maybe they have a full team of people that are working with them. I am a one woman show, like I've mentioned. So for me to be able to speak about something that I feel very passionate about and have friends or a blogging community that I could be like, hey, I achieved this and I want to celebrate this, is really important. And that's what keeps me really motivated. So, your blogging community are, man, they're very important. They're the people you turn to for advice. Maybe you meet up with them for a coffee if they live in the same city as you. Usually they don't. And that's a great excuse to travel to another city, to another country. Um, and I really think that bond is unbreakable. Just working on, your business, something that you're passionate about, with someone who understands. Your internet friends that become in real life friends are amazing. And in addition to that, I personally am very lucky where my family and my friends are super, super involved, super supportive. They love hearing my wins. I know some of us don't have that, unfortunately. So really, branching out and finding those people that you can talk to, um, that's really is what gonna keep you going. I'm very lucky. My mom, my dad, and my brother they're all very involved in masala and chai. They're the people that get like the really ugly like iPhone photos at 11 p.m. when I've shot something that I feel really proud of, and then they get an edited photo. I ask them for feedback. They give me new ideas. My dad is my accountant.
That's awesome.
So my mom's that first person that goes to a recipe, tries it out, leaves a star rating, which is so important. I can't tell you the amount of times a random person has come up to me and been like, your mom shared your blog with me and I tried your mango lassi or whatever it is. And those moments really live rent free in my head, where there are people that are actively supporting my blog, sharing my recipes. Um, yeah, I just endlessly appreciate the people that support me in that way, because it's something I'm very passionate about, and it means the world when you're blogging friends, when you're in real life family and friends. support something that you love and you want to grow.
There's a reason why we typically do a lot better going to the gym when we have a gym buddy. Like there's that accountability and that
Yes,
support and
yes.
all of that. And I think that's so true also with this. We did a live episode a couple of years ago that was all about, if you can't join a mastermind, make your own, and how to find those people. I also want to say, for any of our Mediavine publishers out there, the Mediavine Facebook group is a really good place to find people
Yes.
who will not be tired of talking about keywords, RPM, different lenses for cameras. Like they're the people who want to talk about those things, and we'd love to celebrate your wins, because celebrating those wins are so important. Love hearing all of that. Okay. So Shweta, this has been absolutely fantastic. We are running low on time, but thank you so much for coming by and being transparent and sharing that there are so many different paths in this career. And I just love celebrating all of them. So as we always do on the show, I'd like to wrap up with action items. So for anyone out there who are in our audience that are working 2 jobs, growing their websites, what can they do this week that will set them up for a successful rest of 2022 and beyond? And I will give you a couple moments to think about that question as I introduce next week's guest. Everybody, our next live and our last one in the month of June is Tuesday, June 28th at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. We've got Andy Daynard of the website Reality Blurred, and we're going to talk about writing reboot. So however long you've been blogging, he is here to help you strengthen your writing for the web. And he is not only one of the, I think probably one of the longest term bloggers we have. He's been blogging for 15 years. I think it's a long time on his website. He also is a professor, an English professor out of college. So he will be here to help us strengthen our writing. We're very excited to have him come by. Shweta, it has been a lovely, lovely time with you. Please tell us those action items.
So I think quitting criteria. I really think that's going to be an amazing thing to look at. I would also say look at those places where you're very weak. You know, if you are not on Pinterest, maybe hire a VA for Pinterest. Look at any masterminds that you could take. Whatever those are really great ways to just start out.
Thank you so much. Those are all great tips. Everybody, let's support each other and be as giving with our knowledge as Shweta is. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll hope to have you back another time some in the future.
Yes, I would love that.